17, verse 23, he says, but they obeyed not, neither inclined their ear, but made their neck stiff, that they might not hear nor receive instruction. Okay, so where's the instruction coming from? It's first and foremost, it's coming from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai through his men, the prophets, okay, and then down to the people, all right, ultimately to the elect, because not everyone who's going to hear this word is actually going to repent. Okay, we know that. We've accepted that. We're not here to save everyone. We know that. The Lord ain't trying to save everyone. Why the hell we gonna come here to save everyone? That goes against the mission. All right, our Lord said, he already set the temple. Okay, he said, yo, don't worry about them. I come not for everyone, but I come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, so it's really specifically talking about the elect. Everybody else, you're not part of this. All right. So we understand that. We understand what it's gonna come with. So we just have a clear-cut mission. Go ahead, accomplish it, finish it, and get your reward. That's it. All right. So everything else that comes outside of that, we're not really looking at that. All right. It's just the Lord fulfilling his promises of part of what? The punishment for not listening to him. All right. But you got it, bro.
Kanye, I had a precept for you when you mentioned that about how they would rather go after, these other gods. In this case, this idol that Esau's setting up versus the Most High. And this is Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 25. Withhold thy foot from being unshod, and thy throat from thirst. But thou saidest, there is no hope. No, for I have loved strangers, and after them will I go. And when it says withhold thy foot from being unshod meaning like barefoot. And back then in the ancient world, the main footwear was like sandals or like slippers and so on. And so if you ran a lot in it, it could easily rip and then you would be barefoot. And keep and your throat from thirst, meaning like to basically chase after. So here what the Lord is saying is stop chasing after these other gods. But what Israel said was there is no hope, meaning like don't even try to stop me, because as it says, I have loved strangers, and after them will I go. So regardless of how many times the Lord sent prophets to tell him, hey, enough, like you're wearying yourself chasing these gods that are no gods, they responded with, nah, I'm going to keep going after these other gods. So don't even bother. And the way that looks, because it may sound very brazen when you read a verse like that, but you see it every day. When we're prophesying onto people and they give us that reaction and they see the error in what they're taught or they're not taught in the churches, and then they still go back, right? That's an example of them. You're telling them, hey, if I've showed you clearly that this is the truth and you weren't taught this in there, why are you going to go there next Sunday? Man, they'll still go there anyway, right? So they're in that delusion of chasing after these other gods. And the Most High, within the same chapter, it says, but they're going to turn around when judgment comes and say, Lord, save us. And he's going to respond, no, go to the gods the idols you've been going after and have them save you. And going back to the title, right, is going to hit different when you're in it. There was a video I just saw, I put in the chat. The elder brother Amawanga Bar was doing a lesson on it, where you had the troop. Let's call him the troop, and he was Jake. And you had this Edomite dude walk up to him in his face, and he's like, "Back up!" And you can see at that point, whatever it is they're telling these troops, they know that they're not gonna get in trouble. If they have to get physical with somebody. So all he did was he took the gun, put it behind him, and then got to work on the dude. Now they had to take the dude in an ambulance by the time he was done with him. You know what I'm saying? So going back to the title, it's gonna hit different when you're in it. Seeing it on video is one thing, because you can watch a 2-minute video, right? And then you can turn it off and then go take a shower, right? Or get a phone call, and then your context has switched, and now you're worried about like whatever it is your friend is saying, or you're going to go have dinner or watch a movie with your loved one, and life goes back to how it was, right? But when it's right outside your street, okay, or when they're going door to door in your neighborhood, or when you driving to work and you're seeing these checkpoints and you're getting to checkpoints and they're checking you before letting you pass, that reality is going to hit you different. You're going to be actually thinking about that, like, oh shit, when you're at work and there's troops coming in, they're dragging people out, that's the point, the the eye-opening point where people are going to see it differently. Or when you're hearing testimonies from those that are within your monkey sphere, which the monkey sphere is it's a theory about how many um, relationships actively you can keep within your mind before they start to become just another face or another statistic. That's why if you hear that, you know, a relative that you're close to got hurt, it's a bigger deal than if you hear that 20,000 Norwegians died in a plane crash. To you, it's just 20,000, right? But if one of them was your cousin, then it's a whole different story. So when it hits, when you're in it, that's when you and those that are in your monkey sphere start to actually get affected. Okay. And then you start to see it differently. And as the scriptures say, then you're going to start seeking help. Then you're going to get desperate. And the thing about humans is it's so funny when you get desperate, you think everybody else has to be desperate with you. You know, like when you're chill, yeah, that's fine. But when you're desperate, then all of a sudden everybody has to be like this to try and help you out. But that's not how it works. You're the one in that situation. Okay. You need the help. And Zaquan, you always mention this how like you may go through something that may feel like a more heightened version of Jacob's trouble, but it may feel more isolated to you. You might be the one who's locked up, and other brothers might not be, and they might still have to go out there and prophesy, you know, because maybe they're in a different state or whatever the case is. So you got to have that in mind that you're going to be in there feeling like, damn, I'm experiencing like what the scriptures say, but the world is still going on. And sometimes that's what makes it harder for people because the saying misery loves company, I mean, it's applicable, right? Like you would feel different if everybody was locked up. Then it's like, all right, cool, we're on the same boat. But if it's just me and it's like, damn, my family's out there without me, but you know, everybody else is good, shit, you know, like can't this start already so that everybody can be up in the same boat? But you got to have that faith, you know, like look at what happened to Daniel for praying to the Lord, right? Look at what happened to the three holy children for refusing to bow down to that image, right? So you got to stand by your faith. That's the times that we're coming into here, where it's not going to be just I have or I had faith. No, faith is a continual thing. We're going to need to continuously prove ourselves to the Lord every single day because the challenges will be different. Maybe it'll be one day is starvation, you know what I'm saying? Maybe another day is temptation from your family members or your woman or threat, whatever the case may be. But each day you gotta, that's why the scriptures talk about an hour of temptation, right? An hour doesn't last. You can have 50,000 or not thousand, but 50 different temptations within 1 hour. You know what I mean? Like you can have it at work, you can have it at home, you can have it on the road. It can hit you at any point. But you got to have it resolute in your mind that regardless of what form this temptation takes, my answer is one thing and it's going to stay that thing. All right. Even if it means that you got to suffer martyrdom for Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. But that's it.
Hey, you mentioned the word temptation, which ultimately all of this work that we're doing here is to prepare us for that very time. You know, I forget who asked me this. That this was very recent, and uh, they were like, "So you're not afraid of all the things that's about to happen?" And I was like, "No, afraid of what? Like, you know?" And I told him I was like, "Honestly, that's what we live for. Like, I'm prepared for that point. Like, because we structure our lives to get to the point where having nothing is not going to feel like anything. It's going to feel more like we have everything now because there's nothing holding you back at this point. And for us to get to that point as men of the Lord, that means that it's go time. That's what that means. And I'm not saying it just because, oh, you know, oh, you're a man of the Lord or you with brothers or not. It's something that you have innately, which is on your daily walk. We're not walking around with brothers all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like we're biological brothers, and I live like 2.5, 3 hours away from you. Like we don't live around each other. We're in separate remote areas, but we still suffer similar things, you know, and ultimately it's basic suffering of temptation and going through flesh and things like that, but it's to prepare you for the actual battle. You know, you have family that depends on you, whatever the case may be. You have to find a way to make sure that you're steering the boat the right way. You know, if it's just you by yourself, that's even worse because you have to be able to be on point, not just for yourself, but also what you're providing for the Lord as well, right? Making your body a living sacrifice on your journey and so on and so forth. So all these different things are things that's preparing us for the times that we're about to enter into, which is the time of the hour of temptation. Like I gave it the abbreviation HOT, hour of temptation is hot. Okay, and at that time, everyone is going to feel that heat. Okay, and it's done uh, as 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 a cleansing agent and as a preparation as well, because ultimately, as it says in the book of Second Ezra, the 16th chapter, is talking about those men who have been tried. Okay, you've been tried in the fire. You've been tried in the furnace of adversity. You've been through little things in life that if you were to tell the stories to people, they'll be like, "Yo, how the hell did you?" And the only answer is, "Hey, the Lord. The Lord is the one who carried me through." Because we get to moments in life which, like the title says, is going to hit different when you're in it. You get to certain moments in life where it's like, yo, I've exhausted all my physical and mental options. Lord, the only way up this hill is some type of divine intervention. Like, I don't have any other way to climb this mountain. Like, physically, I can't physically climb this mountain. It's too steep. And all the equipment that I've tried using, shit, every time I try, it's like something weird happens where it knocks me down. Lord, how else am I going to get to this mountain, at the top of this mountain? You know, it's freaking cold, everything. I ain't got no food, no water. How am I going to get there? And when I get there, what am I going to see up there? Right? How am I going to sustain myself? And when it's time to come back, how am I? So you think of all these impossibilities. And then once you think about it, oh shit, you know what? I do have the superpower, which is the Lord. And you go to the Lord, all of a sudden, some impossible shit happens where it just makes everything possible. You're like, how, Lord? How, Lord? Right? We're going to go through moments like that where we're going to be in dire straits, where we're going to be like, Lord, and he's going to come through. How, Lord? Oh, Lord, how? You know? So just keep that in mind. Okay, now I want to get to this quick precept here. All right, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Okay, so this is a worldwide thing, a global thing, where everyone is going to be pressed. All right, pressure from above, pressure from below. We will literally be all pressed. Okay, but those who are going to make it are going to be the elect. That's why in 2 Ezra 16, once again, it says that then shall they be known who are my chosen. We don't get to know who the Lord's chosen are until that adversity comes. And then we make it through that fire and we're like, oh shit, yo, that's different. Like, yo, y'all brothers, y'all sisters, y'all different. Because the Lord made us different. The Lord is the one who carried us through because we knew where to go. When the show was coming, we were prepared because we knew where to go. Right? The Lord wouldn't give us all this knowledge just to, oh, y'all got the knowledge. Okay, fine. That's it. No, remember what I said? I always say that in the time of Egypt, right, there's always a Goshen. Always remember that. Never forget that, because as long as our power is alive, the sons of Jacob are not consumed. Don't forget that. I don't care what Esau says. Oh, fuck Stephen Miller, what he got to say. Fuck him and his Red Dragon bullshit speeches. We don't want to hear none of that shit. Because when our Lord come back, then you're going to see some real shit. Okay? That's when you're going to see some real shit. So you could talk all your shit all you want. We know the power we serve. All right? Now, when you go to that word temptation in the Greek, all right, because again, this is Esau's weakest attempt, but it's going to feel so strong because the Spirit of the Lord is going to be behind it. Okay, if not, it's not going to work because we're here. We're exposing all the shit that they're doing anyway. So it's like we weaken their punches. You see what I'm saying? So the Lord is the one who has to say, okay, I need y'all out the way, and then I'm going to bring that full force to these people, man. All right? So when you go to that word temptation, it says pyrasmo, all right, in the Greek, and it says an experiment, attempt, trial, proving. Okay, and what's going to be that time? That time of temptation. When you go a little bit more into it, all right. It says here trial, proving the trial made of you by bodily condition. Um, Going down, it says the trial of man's fidelity, right? Meaning faithful, right? Being faithful to something that you, in this case for us, will be faithful to the Lord, right? To the mission. Okay, integrity. All right, virtue, constancy. Okay, meaning you can't be an apostate when all hell breaking loose. When they start persecuting, they start demonizing, they start doing all these different things. All of a sudden, I know Hebrew is like, well, I don't know nothing about that. You're gonna have niggas doing shit like that. All right. It says what? They're gonna start changing their tune because they don't want to fit the narrative of that demonization tactic that's gonna be coming down the pike. But guess what? It's all the Lord's test anyway. Remember that. The Lord is the one who's going to test to see how faithful are you to me. Like you mentioned before about Daniel, right? That's a prime example of faithful to the Lord, no matter what. That, yo, yeah, I am in captivity, but your God ain't my God. We serve two different gods. And my God ain't I'm not going to change the way I serve my God, who I serve, because you threaten me with death. Fuck is you think? What you think this is? This is a covenant that was made by the Heavenly Father with our forefathers. It's not going to change. Okay? And me realizing who I am now makes it even that much stronger. All right, you devils, man, boy. It says an enticement to sin, temptation, whether arising from the desires or from the outward circumstances. Trouble, okay, being pressed, pressure from above, pressure from below. Pressure from above meaning you all of a sudden you got all these mandates. Like you were saying, Bakar, you might be driving with your family. Next thing you know, there's a checkpoint. They say, hey, the new digital ID. If you don't got it, we pulling you over because we can't identify who you are. So now you go from you, your wife, your kids, to now everybody's being rounded up because you can't fit. You're not compliant. You're not in compliance with whatever new mandates that are being passed around. So now you being split from your family because they gotta take the wife someplace else, they gotta take the children someplace else, they gotta take you someplace else. Now you're like the whole shit is split. What do we do? You go from we going from one end to the next to now we ain't going nowhere. I can't find my family. I can't find, and this is not, oh, I'm gonna call the cops to report this. No. These are the troops doing this shit to you. So who are you gonna call? Right? This is the real life scenario that we always been painting. Like, get ready for this. Because anything could happen. This is all to try a man's faith. Imagine that. Your children being taken away from you, your wife or your whatever being taken away from you as a man, bro, you feel mad crazy doing shit, going through some shit like that. Just imagine that. The feel, the pain, the oh shit, like you're gonna feel powerless as a man. That's a painful, position to be in where you feel like you can't do nothing to help and save your family. Like, yo, you know, and you know how much anger that's gonna bring out of certain men, but we gotta stay cool, just like your Yahushua. Okay? We gotta stay calm because he's with us. All right, he's with us, and this is all for a reason. Hey, some shit like this happen, you say, hey, you know what? Just go with them. The Lord is gonna protect you. I'll see you guys soon. That's the mindset you gotta have because your confidence in the Lord is going to give them that strength they need to continue to hold on. All right. So it says here, an internal temptation to sin, right? So it's going to be something people going to be pondering. Like you're going to go through days where you're going to be sitting with your family going, so what do we do? It's been a week. You still don't have a job. What do we do? Like the bills are still piling up. Like they're telling us if we don't go take this chip, we can't eat. Like, what are we going to do? And now they're arresting people. Like my sister just got arrested because her kids said that they went to school and they were telling them that they have to take it and they refused. So they called the parents in. Now the parents are facing time, or this fines over here or this over here. Oh, in Canada, this ain't. It's going to be everywhere you go. Everywhere you go because it's the hour of temptation. Okay? It says here, adversity, affliction, trouble, the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, now when you go into that word pirasmos, you go into it just a little bit more. The root word of it, it says pirazo. All right, pirazo, right? It says here, where is it? Is it this one here or is it a little bit more? I think it's the root word of that pirazo. It says pira. All right, it says a trial, experiment, attempt. It says, right, through the idea of piercing. Okay, so in the hour of temptation is when we're going to see when they actually going to physically bring that, the MOTB out. Okay, because right now, believe it or not, everything you're seeing right here, all throughout since Trump came in, is the preparation for the MOTB. And I believe I was talking to Bakar about it. I said, yo, this feels like 2025 is the preparation for the beast system to be unveiled in 2026. Because I think, what country was it? There's two countries, New Zealand, I know just started to take part in this digital ID thing. So it's two countries right now that are on par to bring about that digital ID this year. All right. So then you got, okay, 2026, what's going to happen? Who's going to be joining in? These niggas saying that America is going to be 250 years. So something's going to play out in that numerical sense, right? But the point is, we are at the point where we're seeing the steps to it. You got a crisis that's looming with this whole government shutdown. Who knows how long that's going to take? All right. And by the time they're done, people might be helpless, hopeless, stressed out, even more. Okay. And then what's going to be the next test that people got to go through? So we're seeing the birth pains. Does this not sound exactly as the prophecy said that something happens and then it just keeps dragging on? And it's just like the more people wait, I believe the word, because I remember the word I used was dreary, which is hoping for something better the next day, and then the next day comes and it's worse than the day before. That's how people are going to feel like. It's like, yo, like tomorrow might be better, and then tomorrow is worse than yesterday. You're like, yo, what the like, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, every day, that's how it's going to be. All right, every single day you're going to be on your toes because that's how life is going to feel like. Norway, the UK, right, the water. The UK, New Zealand, and so on and so forth. All right, so the hour of temptation is truly, truly right around the door, man. All right, the time of trial, okay, the time of temptation and trial, and affliction, okay. But that's all I had. You got it, bros.
Yeah, we gotta. We'll be back on that.
I can hear me.
Yeah, we good now.
So I can. All right. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, just just touching in on what you were just speaking about, about the trial, right, of our faith, which really the Lord puts the elect in, and we got to have that confidence that we are a part of that, because the Lord put the elect on the earth at this time for a reason, to show His power in, right, and we are the only ones, that are sincerely, not speaking about us specifically, but just that the household of Yahushua, right, or the body of Yahushua, which is the household of faith. We're the only ones that are actually putting the name of the Lord out there on the line, right, and saying, like, we don't have anything else, right? We don't have the actual physical power, right? We don't have the wealth, right? We don't have any of these things that could actually quote unquote deliver, which people wrongfully, right, foolishly think that those things, right, can deliver, and the Lord's going to put those things to the test, right? The Lord's going to put your money to the test, right, because that's an idol. So He's going to have people that got money, and they're going to think that, okay, well, because I have money, I should be able to be saved, and you're going to find out that that can't save you, right? Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, it speaks about, let not the rich man glory in his riches, right? Or the strong man or the mighty man glory in his might. All of those things are going to be put to the test, and they're going to fail. But the only thing that's not going to fail is those that put their faith in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua and those names, because this whole thing is set up for the Lord to name to be glorified, and we are the witnesses of that, right? We are the ones that are saying that it is in the name of the only living power, Yahweh, through His Son Yahushua, that we're going to actually make it through all of these things. So when people ask us, because Harani may mention, like, oh, what are you going to do in that time? To them, the answer is so simple. It's too complex for them. It's too complex for their minds to really be wrapped around that. Or you're just going to trust in God. But in their mind, they think of God as just in God. But what we actually have a relationship with the Most High, so we know what He can do, and we have that actual courage. And because of that, we actually also have that excitement for these times. So I had this here in 1 Peter 1 verse 6. It says, "Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations." Right, and as we were speaking about it before, there are going to be many different temptations, trials, and each brother may have a different type of temptation. You could have a brother, lights go out, but then another brother, his water is not working, and another brother loses his job, another brother gets arrested. So there's different types of temptations that we're all going to go through. But as Peter also spoke about, that it's not, don't think it's something strange, right? Because we know at the end of the day, all of the believers, right? All of the brothers, the elect, we all going to have to go through something, right? We're all going to have, and we go through it in our day to day. But as we're talking about, as it gets hotter, right, the hour of temptation, we all know that we're going to go through that main temptation, which is the MOTB. But even leading up to that, these different things. But the point of that is not for you to be destroyed, right? When you have faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, you're not going through these things for your demise. You're going through it for this reason. Verse 7, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than that of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahushua. See, so the trial of our faith is, we go through these things so that we can be, come out as those pure gold, right? As come out as those lively stones, so that when, the time that Yahushua appears, we can hear those faithful words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Because that's at the end of it all. That's what you want to hear, right? I was thinking about it the other day. It's like, when you know somebody, and then somebody's trying to introduce you to them, and he was like, "Yeah, I know you." Like, that's what Yahweh Shai is going to say to us. Like, "Yeah, I know you. Like, I don't need an introduction. I like, the Lord is going to say, like, yeah, I know you. Like, you've been you've been rocking with me. You've been on my team. You already got the word from the Father. I'll put your name in there. You good. And that's how, that's what we are fighting for, right? To be known of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, while everybody else, they're looking at it on a sense of just trying to survive and live in this life, right? This is why the separation of who is chosen is going to be known, because the chosen are looking for the kingdom of heaven on earth. They're looking for Yahweh Shai to rule. Nobody else is looking for that. And that is why they are going to receive the kingdom. They're going to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, because that's what they're looking for. Reading on, it says, whom having not seen ye love, and whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. See, because it's the faith that is going to bring you to the reward, right? Hebrews 11:16 or 11:6 tells you that without faith it's impossible to please the Lord, right? But he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? This is what we've been doing right now. This is what the whole word of the Lord's patience is right now. It's about diligently seeking him now, right? Before the evil day, right? Before the wrath of the Lord breaks out. Okay. And that goes to show just how much you believe on the word of the Lord, because when everything happens, when it becomes abundantly clear that this is, Jacob's trouble, when it's abundantly clear that this is the hour of temptation, that's when you're going to have a lot of people who's going to try to seek the Lord, right? When the Lord said, in their affliction, they shall seek me early. But as it says in Proverbs, you're not going to be able to find the Lord because you try to seek him, when it was at your convenience. And that's not how the Lord works, but something else that the brother made mention of, and then I'll pass it, talking about these times that we're in and how they're going to, escalate and get more dire, right? And I made mention how we don't have anything on a carnal sense to deliver us, but the fact that we even, have this type of mindset and we think about these things, because I think Aharon said, we were basically like created for this times, right? Or something to that effect. Like we were created for these times. And the fact that this is something that we always are thinking about is an indicator of that. Because when you look at a lot of people in this world, they're not thinking about things getting worse, right? They're looking at ways for it to get better, or looking at for ways that maybe they won't have to deal with it. But that's because they don't have the mind of the Lord, right? They don't have the mind of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, which the scriptures tells us that the Lord gave us his mind. And because of that, we know that, as Yahweh said and Ezra said, these are to be beginning of sorrows, right? There's going to be more things that takes place. And because of that, we are constantly meditating on that, right? We were meditating on different scenarios. Because even when you think about like sports, or like if you're about to go into a fight, right? A lot of people that can lose, like, let's say a boxing match, a lot of times they would say that my mind wasn't in it, right? They may have the physical, a capability of being a person, but if your mind isn't in it, right, then you're not all the way there. And if your mind's not there, then you're going to lose, right? Because your body goes where your mind goes. So here in Sirach 39 verse 1, it says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancients and be occupied in prophecies. See, and this is what we do, right? Even if we're not doing videos, even if we're not talking to brothers, even if we're by ourselves, our mind is somehow, some way occupied in prophecies, and that is the mental preparation that, which is really the spiritual preparation, that we are, doing in order for us, because when we think about these things, at the end of it all, you go back to, just, pray that the Lord, keeps me, right? It goes back to faith in the Lord, because you could think about all these different scenarios, and any of those scenarios you think of, knowing the prophecies, that, I'm not gonna be able to get out of that on my own. There's nothing that I can do by myself that's going to get me out of that. So you pray that the Lord has mercy. You pray that, you are constantly, doing the things that are pleasing unto the Lord, right? As Yahweh Shah said, watch and pray always that you are found worthy to escape, right? Found worthy to escape these things that should come upon the earth. And when you do that, right, when you're occupied in prophecy, it kind of like puts into motion that whole process of praying and continuously seeking the Lord to be worthy to escape these things. But if you're not even contemplating about you being in this position, right? And if you don't understand prophecy, then you're not going to contemplate that. But if you're not contemplating it, then you're not going to, seek the Lord, right? As scripture also speaks about that the prudent man will observe time, something to that effect, right? A wise man observeth the time, right? But the wicked, what? Let me just get it because I'm about to butcher it. Observe, select it. Observe time. Sirach, I think I want to say it's the 18th chapter. Yep. Sirach 18, verse 27. It says, "A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning, he will beware offense. But a fool will not observe time." Okay. And when it speaks about fearing and everything, it's not speaking about literally being afraid, right? But you're going to be conscientious. I can never say that word. About what is happening, right? Circumspect, right? The scripture speaks about being circumspect. But it says the fool is not going to observe time. And we always speak about that, right? Like, knowing the time that we're in, there's certain, places that you shouldn't be, trying to be at or trying to go to, right? We know that going to Times Square on January 1st is not a wise thing. I mean, even if you don't look at it from the idolatry standpoint, but just from the time that we're living in, knowing that they speak about, you got sleeper cells, knowing that, the Lord got hit a target on Babylon's back. So going to an event like that, which is, for idolatry, that is not a wise thing to do. But a fool won't observe that. A fool is going to be like, oh, it's Times Square when the ball's dropping, it's going to be fun. But then that time is going to come where it's going to hit different when that ball drops and then something else drops. And then you're just stuck there. Pause. But, you got it. I got it, though.
Yeah, I had a quick precept to add on. This is the book of Proverbs 24:10. In the NLT, it says, "If you fail under pressure, your strength is too small," right? So, as the title reads, all right, it's going to hit different when you're in it. And, it's easy to say this and say that. That's why we always make sure that we mention that it's Lord's will that we endure the times to come, right? Because it's only through the Lord's Spirit. He's going to have to put a special spirit inside the elect, which he already has it, but he's going to have to increase our faith as well. All right. Because there's going to be, there's levels of faith. That's why the scriptures talk about those that are weak in the faith, to strengthen them. But, if we faint in that day, after having done all this, all of the work that we put in would be, would be invalidated. Right. So it says, the 11th verse, "Rescue those who are unjustly sentenced to die, save them as they stagger to their death." And in essence, they're leading our people as lambs to the slaughter. Okay, they're leading our people as lambs to the slaughter. And by us bringing this word out, this word is that life-saving information. All right, that knowledge of wisdom and understanding. What does it say in Isaiah? That knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. You see, so by us bringing the word out, that is the protection, that is the covering, that is the the strong tower. Okay, the Proverbs 18:10. All right, I'm gonna grab it actually real quick. Okay, Proverbs, and I'm gonna jump back. But Proverbs 18:10 reads, "The name of the Lord is a strong fortress. The godly run to him and are safe." You see, and that's why us teaching the name of the Lord is so important. and us putting up prayers and calling on the name of the Lord. I mean, we calling on the name of the Lord a lot now. Imagine when the day of Jacob's trouble goes full force. All right, which we're in the beginning stages now from how we see things playing out. But how much more when the hour of temptation hits, when they come down and they roll on us? They just have this. They put out this this legislation that if you speak against the small hats, you're going to be fined and imprisoned soon. That's what they're saying. So they went to America, the land of the free, to North Korea in a matter of a few months to a year. All right, but it's been a slow trickle. We know they deal with gradualism. All right, but we're at the time now where they're speeding it up. They're seeing chariots. They're seeing big, tall, scary Jakes in them chariots from what their astronauts are saying. Maybe they're lying. Maybe they have seen something, but clearly they're seeing some things that has them shook up and has them in a sense of urgency. You see that 3-eye Atlas, could be a chariot, could be a psyop, whatever it is, though. It's always a misdirection with Esau. We know that, and he deals with a lot of deception and deceit. All right, but this is the next verse, and I'll give it to the next brother. Don't excuse yourself by saying, look, we didn't know. For God understands all hearts, and he sees you. He who guards your soul knows you knew. He will repay all people as their actions deserve. And that's why with more knowledge is more responsibility of what we have to do. We can't plead, that we didn't know, or that, even some of these men out here that are in the truth, supposedly, but they're not teaching the right doctrine and they're not covering Jake the right way. Jake is being led off to the slaughter, and they're not showing them a path of escape for IUIC, not teaching the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. For ISUPK, another one that they're not teaching the true breakdown of the MOTB, Revelation 13 and 16 through 18. So they're not covering you and showing you the path to get away from these troubles. All right. And it says, he who guards your soul knows you knew. He will repay all people as their actions deserve. So everybody's going to get repaid and have to deal with a recompense. All right. Whether it's the reward of the crown of life or it's the reward of the crown of shame. Okay. And many of you out there that have had this truth and have played around, all right, they're talking all this hot shit. Jacob's trouble is gay, different things that they're saying, scoffing, mocking the knowledge of wisdom and understanding that the Lord gave us, mocking the name of the Lord, Nate mocking the name of the Lord. Now you're going to have to answer for all these things. Okay, so now when the pressure's on, that's when you're going to see who performs. Who's going to perform in the clutch? Because there's decent players and then there's great players. And the difference between the great player and the decent player is the great player, when the fourth quarter comes, he's going, that's his best time. That's when you want to pass him the rock because he's reliable, right? And that's what you're going to have. Unlike LeBron, I know Aaron going like that. But you got, certain player like a Kobe, for example, you pass him the rock in the fourth quarter, he's the go-to. He could have been missing all his shots, but as soon as fourth quarter drops, he's going to turn it on. All right? Unlike bum-ass LeBron when he went up against Dallas and shamed his legacy, right? But he redeemed himself a bit, but, he wasn't known as being as clutch. He had to go team up with other people, but that's a whole nother story. But Jordan, for example, Kobe, these are some clutch players, and they're reliable when the pressure's on, okay? And you could have been, for a lot of men, Jacob's trouble is going to be, for all of us, Jacob's trouble is going to be that definitive test. But by certain people that haven't, they haven't been in the knowledge of wisdom and understanding, you have certain men out there that they're going to deny the MOTB, and that's going to be their salvation. And they're going to go through hell to do that. And they don't necessarily know this whole truth. They haven't been keeping the Passover. They haven't been keeping the Day of Atonement. They were probably not keeping the dietary law, but something about them, the Lord is going to see certain men out there. They're going to have heard the words of the prophet, all right, and they're going to deny it, and the Lord is going to be pleased by that sacrifice and deliver them in that day, all right? So it's when the pressure's on, when you see who's going to perform when the pressure's on, that's going to be the separation between the men of the Lord and just the regular everyday man. But you got it.
I don't know if you brought out Ezekiel the 13th chapter. Did you just read that one?
Nah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
read
I got
Proverbs 24.
Oh yeah. So Ezekiel 13, verse 4, it says, "O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the desert, and ye have not gone up into the gaps, neither made up a hedge for the house of Israel to stand in a battle in the day of the Lord Yahweh." Yeah, I just wanted to back you up on that. But I have here the book of Second Ezra, chapter 7, verse 41. But
If
before
I
I
may,
read that,
if I may add something real quick, bro, because you mentioned foxes in the desert. One characteristic of a fox is that they're known to be sly. They're known to be tricky. So that's where you get Fox News. All right, they're throwing it right in your face with that. Because when you look at foxes, right? What are foxes known for, right? I'm just looking it up real quick, and then you can go to the next point. Known for. What are foxes known for? All right, it says foxes are, and this is according to Google AI, foxes are known for their cunning and intelligence, which is reflected in their ability to adapt to various environments, including cities, and their reputation and folklore as tricksters, right? So they're known to be tricky. You know, they're known to use cunning. And when you look up the word cunning, okay, what does the word cunning mean? It says having or showing skill in achieving one's ends by deceit or evasion. Okay, and that's what many of these false prophets that are leading you off the cliff, they that's it. Yeah, they're known for a lot of things. But you foxes out there, man, okay, you have not equipped our people, your congregation, with the right information, with the right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to be preserved in this time. All right, because if they think that it's all good to get something implanted inside their body, then you haven't done your job. All right, you know they just want to scoff against us all day, but they're not breaking down what is the beast system, the rise of the beast system. All right, how are you gonna have your allegiance tested to this system? What are they going to do to have your allegiance tested to the system? And don't just say it's sin, because that's foolish, man. How are they going to test? How are they going to test whether you sin or not? You know, only the Lord knows man's everyday goings. Man's goings are the Lord. So how can you sit here and say, well, you go to the store and did you go worship Caesar this morning? All right, you good. Here's your bag of chips and your water. Yeah, it don't make no damn sense. Okay, but again, they're cunning. They're foxes, and a fox will do whatever it's kind of deceitful things it has to do to make sure that it eats. Just like these men. All right, Nate's sitting up there in his Long Island mansion, and you think the Lord don't see you, man? Multi-million-dollar mansion. All right, and you think the Lord don't see you, man? You see, the Lord got you numbered. Okay, the Lord got an X on your back, man. And you could talk what you want to say against us, but at the end of the day, the Lord is going to be the one to make that division and show who's his real men and who is not. Okay, so you can scoff against us all you want. We the offscouring of the earth anyways. We get all this shit anyways. We used to this, all right? We glory in this because it just means that we're in the right spirit. But you over here, you're not considering that you're coming against the true men of the Lord, of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, all right? And if you don't repent, which based off your pride, I don't see that happening, all right? The Lord is going to deal with you, all right? And every false prophet, everybody that's dealing with deceit. You got it, Ayash.
Yeah, Khan. So the book of Second Ezra, the 7th chapter, the previous verses to 41 talks about how, Ezra makes a point about how you have righteous men, praying for a lot of people, right, including the wicked, right? And verse 41, and the angels, he answered and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory doth abide. Therefore, they have prayed for the weak, right? And the weak are those that are not obedient or not receptive to the ways, the knowledge and wisdom of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And when you go into, let me see right here, the book of Second, Timothy, it talks about how we ought to endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai. And even Aharon brought the point about, the temptation and the MOTB and made it as realistic as possible and how that day is going to be. And it requires people of strong character, and this is why it's very important to understand the grave, dangers in being disobedient, because you send a lot of messages to the Lord. The things that you ask upon yourself, people don't necessarily say, I want to die, or they don't necessarily say, I want to fight the Lord, but they do it by being disobedient to the Lord, right? And so the thing is that everyone is gonna have to fight for the glory of Yahweh Shem Yashai. Everybody, right? And the righteous is gonna have to endure hardness for the glory of Yahweh Shem Yashai, and the wicked also is gonna have to endure the hardness for the glory of Yahweh Shem Yashai. Now, so like, what will be like the difference to where if everybody's enduring hardness, how come one group is being delivered and one group is not being delivered? And that's the reason being, like, one group is being obedient and they're choosing to fight a battle prior to the day of the Lord so that they don't have to go through and fight the horrible judgments that the Lord is bringing upon this place, But the wicked will look at the righteous and then they'll call them people who waste their time, right? Why are you wasting your time doing this when you can go out and live your life to the fullest and this, that, and the third, and yada, yada, yada. But what they don't understand is that they are being obedient to. That's what it means to be obedient to the Lord. When you endure hardness, I believe, was it the book of Acts? I had it here, where it talked about how they taught that through much tribulation, the book of Acts chapter 14, verse 22, it says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorted them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God. And so that those who believe in Yahweh Shem Yashai, they are fighting a different kind of fight. They've chosen to fight one certain kind of fight, whereas the wicked, right? And that the Lord being a man of war, he picks the right kind of warriors to be around him, right? Just like the brother, the Zaquan Itazman was even talking about how Yahweh Shai has a bunch of men, right? Men who he has revealed their name to the Heavenly Father and made intercession on their behalf. Those are going to be the good warriors, the wise warriors who knows how to pick battles properly and who have the strength of character and, the spirit of the Heavenly Father to go through these things. That's why at the end of the day, at the end of their tribulation, the Lord delivers them and brings them close to them. And then when it comes to the fight of the wicked people, what does the Lord say? Well, hey, you didn't want to fight this fight that was a rig for you, this fight that I gave you the ability to win. You didn't want that. You wanted the ass whooping. You wanted to fight. You wanted to play the game on the most difficult, settings. So I'm going to put you in it, right? Because ain't nothing more difficult to a man than a man. There ain't nothing more difficult to a man than a man without the Lord. A man without the Lord is living a difficult life. His life is horrible. And although he may not see it immediately, in the end, we shall all see what it's like for a man to live without the Heavenly Father. That's why being a soldier, you got to understand, being a servant of Yahweh Shem Yashai, you got to understand that there are many different aspects into serving the Lord, right? And if you are, imaginative enough, you'll understand the many different ways in which your actions please the Lord, right? And being a soldier, just like the apostles put it, being a soldier is one of these aspects, and it's one of these many different ways in which you think about serving the Lord. When you think about being a soldier, well, what does a soldier do? A soldier endures boot camp. Boot camp is fucking horrible. They got to do a whole bunch of things just so they can be, just so they can have the ranks. They can be part of the ranks, And so on this side, it may seem difficult, right? It may seem like the world is getting the win and we're taking the losses. But in the end of the day, we are fighting we are not fighting the difficult battle. We're fighting an easier battle with the Lord on our side. And in the end, we were going to see, damn, man, I'm glad I didn't choose to fight on that other half of the battlefield, and I chose to fight on this half of the battlefield, right? And when you go on further down in the book of Second Ezra, the 7th chapter, he says, verse 57, it says, then he answered me and said that this is the condition. Matter of fact, verse 56, it says, for while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Verse 57, it says, Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. So this is all it's like we keep saying this. It's a movie, it's a scenario, and once you understand your purpose in all this, then you can go even harder for the Lord. There's no reason to envy the wicked. There's no reason to envy the 2/3 of the world. Once we understand what's coming for this place, and once we prepare ourselves and be found worthy enough to escape these things, right, then it's all going to make sense. Well, it makes sense now, but we're actually going to see the proof in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have all these things, and yeah, some people do ask for proof in the pudding, so the Lord's going to give it to them. We at least they don't have to eat the pudding, but yeah, we good. So that's it on that.
Yeah, I see. Oh, it's like you guys are going.
Yeah, I just had a quick precept. Y'all can hear me? God, I just had a quick precept based off of what I asked was talking about being a soldier for the Lord. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2, it says, "In these things," actually, I'll start at 1. It says, "Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Yahweh Shah HaMashiach," right? And this whole, the subtitle of this chapter is the first few verses is being strong, and this is something that the Lord actually commanded, right? His men to be, right? He told Joshua to be strong and of a good courage, and it's because you being strong is not because the Lord expects you to be able to, bench press, 315. He's speaking about really being strong in your faith in him. All right. And when you really have your faith in the Lord, then you shouldn't look at anything from a weak standpoint, because you know that, as John said, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Anything and everything that any scenario that we go through, right? It's not hard for the Lord to get us out of. In the video I did yesterday, speaking about knowing the times are coming where we're not going to be able to have, access to food readily available. But when you understand and know, right, and you occupied in the prophecies and understanding what the Lord has done for us, looking at the generations of old, then you'll think of it like, well, the Lord fed a whole nation of people in the wilderness. So you saying it's too hard for the Lord to feed, me and my family, 3 people, 4 people. If the Lord could feed a whole generation, a whole nation for 40 years in a wilderness, then, it's not going to be anything for the Lord to, provide, food for us. So this is where our strength lies. And that's why the Lord told Paul, right, in your weakness, he is made strong. Verse 2, it says, "In these things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also." Right. And this is what we do, right? We heard these words from our apostles, our elders, and we've entered into their labors. And now we also commit these same words, right, which are, as brother read in Acts, the 14th chapter, these are confirmations, right, confirming the soul of the disciples, right, to endure. Okay, that endurance once again comes and is rooted in your faith. That's why the scripture speaks about being established in Yahweh Shah, right? It says verse 3, and we know with that, right, that comes with time and experience, but it also, there's going to come a point in time where we are no longer going to be committing, these words, unto people, right? That's why you have to get it while you can get it, because the time is coming where you're not going to be able to get it, and whatever you have, meaning, but whatever your faith is, that is what you're going to have to, use all the way up until the end, right? And you got certain people that may be, lukewarm, that, they may believe in the Lord, right? But they're not really putting that faith to work. Well, when that time comes, your faith is going to be tested. And if you get, pushed to a limit to where you didn't use your time appropriately to build up your faith, to be able to endure that, then you're going to fall, right? And that's why you're going to have certain people that know what the truth is, but because they didn't use the time of building up their faith properly, there's going to get to a certain temptation to where it's going to be too much for them, and then they're going to fall by the wayside, So verse 3, it says, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shah Mashiach. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who has chosen him to be a soldier. Okay, so knowing that being in this life means, as a brother read in Second Esdras, there's a battle, right? And the Lord mapped out the condition of the battle, right? And there's no other way to escape it, right? Yahweh Shai, when he came, there was a battle, and he prayed, right? In that moment when he was in the garden of Gethsemane, right, to see if there was another way, but it was already mapped out, right? It was already, this is the condition, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to go through in order to get that glory, right? And for us, we have that. There's a map that is mapped out for us, or road mapped out for us as well. We don't know what it is, we don't know how it's going to be, but we as long as you have the faith, right, and the author and finisher of your faith, which is who, Yahweh Shai, then you should be able to have full confidence that you'll be able to, go through that road. Okay. And doing so, you can't entangle yourselves with the things of this world, because those things can become burdensome or become a distraction to a point where you're no longer able to walk that road. Right. Last scripture for me, Hebrews 12, verse 1. Right. It says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. Okay. We speak about, I know Ashayar made mention of, Kobe and things like that, that showcases, we always do it, right? Showcases the live examples of, people that may be clutch, or people that have certain attributes, but those are all for corruptible crowns, right? We actually also have witnesses, right? Righteous men, right? Talks about that in Sirach, right? Let us now praise renowned men or righteous men. Okay, Hebrews 11 chapter speaks about witnesses or examples of individuals, our forefathers, that have gone through things, right? And they came through in the clutch, right? They were clutch in these moments, right? Spiritually clutch. And this is what we have entered into. Okay, it's our time, right? Which that was then, we saying people coming back, but the mindset is now we're in this generation to where it's our time, to be clutch, right? The Lord called our number in this generation, and we gotta, put our best foot forward. It says, so let us lay aside every weight and sin which doeth so easily beset us. And that is why so many people are going to take that charagma, because it's going to be easy to, right? It's actually going to be a very easy thing for people to take the charagma, just like how it was easy for people to take the jump shot. They were giving it out for free, right? Anywhere you go to your CVS, your Walgreens, you go to your McDonald's, you get a burger in a jump shot. You go to your churches. So that's how it's going to be with this digital system. They're going to make it very, very accessible, right? Very convenient. And it's going to look like an actual source of deliverance. But once again, if you're not occupied in prophecy, right, you're going to look at that. You're not going to understand what that really is. So it says, and the sin which shall do easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Okay, run with patience. We have the scriptures talks about you have need of patience. Okay, looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne. So like it's set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. Okay, so because Yahweh Shai understood the mission, and he also understood the joy that he was going to receive, the glory that he was going to receive for finishing that mission. And he had full confidence and faith that if he did what he had to do, he was going to get the glory. And that's the mindset that we have to have, right? That is us putting on the mind of Yahweh Shai, right? We joy in the fact of the kingdom, right? The dominion, the power over, victory over death, right? Being delivered out of Babylon the Great. We see, the actual war coming, right? We see all of the calamities, taking shape. So instead of us, and I think the angel told, right, Ezra, you're right, not being too concerned with how the wicked is going to perish, but rather, meditating and thinking about how the godly shall be saved. And that's something that even gives us joy. The fact that we see this devil, coming down with this wrath. We seeing, him encamping around about us. But we also know that the Lord said that that the elect are going to be delivered, right, out of this trouble, right? We know Jacob's trouble is here, but the Lord said he shall deliver you out of the same. So now we are, looking toward how the Lord is going to deliver us. And that's going to be an actual showing of the Lord's power. And for Lord willing, us being those vessels that he shows that in. Last one, it says, for consider him that endureth such contradictions of sinners against himself. Right. Getting mocked, getting laughed at, right. Being told that he was the Lord of flies, right? Beelzebub, all of these things. Yahweh Shah, the king, right, had to go through. So it says, consider him how he endured such contradiction of sinners against himself. Lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. All right. Because at the end of it all, the Lord, Yahweh Shai, he was vindicated, right? Because even the what was it? The soldiers said, what? This has to be the Son of God. You had Edomites that acknowledged that was the Son of God. So the Lord is Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is not mocked. And the fact that we are out here putting his name, on the line, right? Walking after his ways to the best of our abilities. The Lord is not, he's going to vindicate us as well. He's going to show, right, these are my chosen. And when you have that in your mind, then you won't be weary, you won't faint. But you have to truly, truly believe in that. So that's it for me. Good. Hey, all right then. So, we're gonna close it out with that. And Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. So next time, Shalom, keep the faith. Shalom.
Shalom. I got one more thing I want to say real quick.
All right.
There's somebody on the comment board. You know who you are. You left a comment on a video, but for some reason YouTube did something I wasn't able to actually see the full comment. So Bulak Shah, if you could put that comment back on one of the old videos, I'll be able to see it through there. So I don't know what YouTube is doing, but they be messing with the comments. So sometimes I'm not able to read it. And specifically, it be you be posting stuff and then I'll be clicking it and I can't see it. So you know who you are through the spirit. Just put it up so I can see it again and read it. But the water, Yabash Masha Brakatham.
God, Shalom.